We're doing Comic Sans that reflects Jerry's passion for graphic design.
As a graphic designer, there's a misconception that Comic Sans is the biggest joke of the graphic design world, and only amateurs and people who don't know what they're doing use Comic Sans. Windows, when it was created, it only had a very set amount of typefaces. It was the only typeface that didn't look like Arial, it didn't look like Times New Roman. It was the only typeface that was very unique. So when people suddenly got access to these tools, they're like, this is the only typeface that doesn't look plain or boring. So all of a sudden, Comic Sans was everywhere. It was all over the internet, oversaturated. He created it on a computer by drawing it by hand. He wanted to create a typeface that was inspired by a comic book because he was originally designing it for this Microsoft system that never came out for this character called Bob, which was like a talking dog. And there was no typeface that made it look like a character was talking. So inspired by Batman and Watchmen comics, he hand drew the letters on his computer to make it look more natural, like it was someone talking to you rather than there was like words on a computer screen. So it became this really fun, quirky typeface that was meant to be used for communication rather than for like advertisement or for posters. It also got used a lot to create awareness. During an NBA game, LeBron James wore this t-shirt that says "I can't breathe," and it was in Comic Sans, and it was referencing racial discrimination that the cops were doing at the time in America. Well, the reason he did it in Comic Sans is because people were suddenly talking about it because of this stigma that Comic Sans inked in America. There's these people who made Comic Sans for cancer, which was to like raise awareness and funding for cancer research, and they just got so many designers to make all these posters exclusively in Comic Sans. It's also a really good typeface for people with dyslexia because it's all hand drawn. All the letters look very unique. So a lot of people with dyslexia, they struggle to differentiate shit like B and D or P and Q. But because they're all unique, when they're placed next to each other, it's a lot easier to tell them apart. So there's some like things you can do in Windows where you can convert the whole thing into Comic Sans to make it easier to use if you have some types of dyslexia.